comes from. But really look around to the extent that you've experienced, let's just say sadness. At this point, you're not alone. In fact, over the course of our lifetime, all of us would probably be standing up. Every one of us in here, you all. So don't let the shame, the guilt, the insecurity, the feeling of isolation get in the way of doing what you need to do to take care of yourself. Realize that just like a lot of these other things that you're going to hear about that we're talking about today, you're just like everybody else. Okay, that's good. Everybody sit down, please. When we talk about depression, and I'm going to focus in on that today in the time that I have here, by no means, y'all, don't want y'all to think that's the only mental illness or mental problem or whatever that we have. And let me even stop there. When I say mental illness and say mental problem, even when I say it, I feel like I got to stop myself because it's got a negative connotation to it. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm crazy. I got a mental illness, whatever, I'm having a fit. You know, these are the types of things that we think about. But another word that I really want to introduce into the conversation today is wellness, self-care, okay, health. These are all different ways of talking about the same thing. Now, one of the ways to embrace our wellness and self-care and health is to recognize that sometimes there are things that don't go so well, normal things that don't go so well. And so we just need to take care of them. But let's not let the words like mental health or mental illness get in the way of us getting what we need. So, but when we're talking about depression, what am I talking about? What's depression? Just throw some stuff out. Absolutely. Sadness. We think of crying sometime when we think of depression. Do men usually cry when they're depressed? A lot of times they don't. A lot of times, instead of crying, we'll do some of the things that I heard Pastor Ron talking about earlier. We won't cry. We'll yell. We'll lash out. We'll get very irritable, okay? And so sort of those signs of depression that we're used to thinking of in that way, we can look a little bit different. So our cries can sort of burst out of us and be yells. But what else? Okay, we isolate ourselves. We're lonely. Anything else come to mind? Yes, we're inadequate. We're insecure. We're not able to accomplish the things that we've been able to. Yep, we'll do things to try to take care of it other than going and talking to somebody. Okay, we might bury ourselves in work as a way of not thinking about some of the stuff that's going on. What else? Overeat. Absolutely. There may be changes in our appetite. So we might gain weight. Sometimes you have that. Sometimes you have people that lose weight, okay? But you have some appetite disturbance. Another disturbance that you'll have a lot of times is a sleep disturbance, right? You know, really, I would say we have a physician in here who can check me if I'm wrong, but pretty much any psychologist, psychiatrist, urologist, you know, different people that you're going to talk about a problem, one of the things they're probably going to ask you about is how you're sleeping, okay? Because if you're not sleeping, you're not rejuvenating yourself and being okay, whatever is causing it. Whether it's something to do with you physically or mentally, you're not sleeping, it's a problem. So sleep disturbance. So sometimes we have trouble falling asleep. Sometimes we have trouble waking back up. Fatigue is another problem that comes with depression. Concentration issues are another problem that comes with depression. A fancy term we have is anhedonia that comes with depression. All that means is you don't get pleasure out of the things that are normally bring happiness in your life. You know, and when we experience that, and then it leads to the isolation and whatnot, because the things we used to do to have fun, even the people we used to have fun with, it's not fun anymore. Okay, all those are symptoms of depression. Suicidal ideation, thinking about hurting yourself, hopelessness are signs of depression. Okay? What causes this depression, and I'm talking generally. I know it can be this specific stuff, and everybody could name something. But one of the things that I want to generally say that causes depression is stress. And as men, we have more stress in our lives than lots of other people. We put more stress on ourselves. Pressure, absolutely. In other words, pressure, anxiety. We got all these terms. We got concerns, nervousness. All of that we're talking about, we have a lot on our plates in that way. And it can lead to us feeling insecure, not feeling like we're accomplishing things, like Pastor Ron was saying, and can normally, you all, lead to depression. I got one example of stress. My son's a little basketball player. Mr. Andrew Landry's son is a little basketball player. It's hard for me to get out of work, get my son all the different practices and whatnot. So TJ is standing there in the back. I appreciate him so much because he's made it possible for my son to make it to some of the practices and whatnot. He just drives him to the practice, drops him off. Sometimes they practice together. My son's younger, so sometimes he just drops him off and everything. So I appreciate you. But when they go, I'm nervous about them going. 17, 18-year-old black kid in a car driving. 14-year-old, almost 15-year-old black kid in the car with him. I worry about if they get pulled over. I worry about if they did with the things that me and their dad have talked to them about, take hold, and they be okay talking to the police officer and whatnot, and everything goes smoothly and whatnot. But I worry about that, you all. I worry. And I think they would do fine, but I know that even if they do fine, how's that officer going to do? Is he going to do fine and do his part? And I know that's kind of out of our hands. We all have to, I'm going to say let go of that in a certain way, but that's a stress, you all. And that's an extra stress that we carry that some of my friends who are white, they don't carry that same stress, you all. They don't worry about that. Just the little things, like when their kids are driving each other to basketball practice, you all. So know that there's a lot of stress on you. Know that you're going to naturally feel some sadness, and there'll be some other mental concerns that you might have, but know that you're not alone, and don't isolate yourself in any way. Now, everybody's sitting down now. I'm standing up. Probably imagine that a couple more of you are standing up, but if there are about 3 of us standing up right now, that's representative about the number of us who are going to voluntarily go and seek out mental health services. Really, it's just me, and I'm a damn psychologist, so I'm biased toward it, and I'm overestimating a little bit, you all. I'm sure and I hope there are some men in this room right now that have been in counseling or psychotherapy or whatever, coaching, we got all kinds of different names for ways that you can talk to people and get help. But we are very reluctant, you all, to go and ask another person for help, another man for help. And we hurt ourselves in the process, you all. A lot of us live our lives trying to give to our families, give to them in all sorts of different ways. We want them to be well and healthy and happy. I'm here to tell you that you can't give anybody what you can't give yourself, okay? If you're not well, Coach Bean, I was going to save it for the end, but I'm not going to be able to save it. This man, and it's already been referenced by the previous speaker, has mentored so many young girls and boys in a way that I could say in my son's case, no doubt, just like the doctor was saying, has helped make them the young men that they are. And he did that for his kids, but he did that for other people's kids. He was well when he was doing that. He was okay. I'm not saying, and I'm not up in his business, right? But whatever was going on and whatnot, he was well enough to be able to be a mentor to those children and help them. And so some of the things that you want to be for other people, you have to take care of yourself. Y'all, you got to take care of yourself. You've got to be well to help other people, but you've also got to give yourself the same gifts that you give other people. We're quick to tell our wives, our girlfriends, our kids, even send them to do something, whether it's physical health services or mental health services, but not so quick to do it for ourselves. It starts with us, okay? It starts with us. With us not going and getting the mental health services we need, what are some of the consequences of that, you all? I mean, all men, that number of 1 in 4, black men, white men, whatever type of man, even women, right? Whatever. All are going to suffer depression over the course of their lifespan, about 1 in 4 and whatnot. But we, as a group, just men, specifically black men too, are the least likely to seek out mental health services. What are the consequences of that? Okay, somebody said the most concerning consequence, suicide. Thank you for referencing that. I actually got a section to talk some about that consequence for our kids and for us. But yes, in the most extreme way, sometimes we kill ourselves, right? But to that point, we have more severe experience of whatever the mental health issue is, and more chronic suffering of the mental health issue. It may be something that if we had went and chatted with somebody for 2 45-minute sessions, maybe got some medicine, maybe not, everything would have been fine. But we wait, who knows how long, a year or longer, it's festering and getting worse. It's tearing down our relationships. We're not productive at work. We're feeling more and more insecure, and gets to a point where instead of going and chatting with a counselor, we end up at a psychiatric hospital. Yeah, absolute. Pride, foolish pride, huh? You might need to be up here every time you say something, right? Foolish pride, right? And for what? For something that we're all going to experience, you all. We're all going to experience it, you all. So that chronicity, that severity, that's a consequence. So if something isn't right, you feel you're having some of these symptoms, or you having, we're not going to be able to talk about a lot of other mental illnesses, but you have something not going right, seek help, you all. It can make a difference. Now, on the suicidality front, certainly it's something that can be present in us if we're depressed, but what kind of example are we setting for our families, for our kids, for the people that look up to us if we don't get the help that we need? What do you think they're going to do? You think you think they're going to go do something? I've done it, you all. I've definitely told both my boys, right? The old do as I say, not as I do. And there are certain things that I really expect that of them, you all. But at the end of the day, me saying that versus me doing something and then telling them to do it, that doing something and then showing them and then telling them this is what you do, that's what takes. That's what takes and works better. And so when we try to tell them to do one thing, but they see us doing another in any aspect of our lives, but specifically when it comes to their wellness, that's not going to work. And so when you don't take care of yourself in that way, you don't take care of them. And suicide rates have been going up for everybody for some time now, you all. Not just men or black men, but for everybody. But I got some stats that I do specifically want to share with you in terms of black males specifically. I'm going to try to find this so that I can get it it right. It actually startled me when I seen it, you all. But according to the Center for Disease Control, from 2001 to 2017, the suicide rate among black male teens rose 60%. 60%, you all. Young black males, how are they killing themselves? From 2001 to 2017, 60% increase. Yep. Drugs can definitely be part of things, and that's another thing. I'm just focusing on depression, but drugs can be part of things. But in terms of the physical means that they're doing it, they're shooting themselves. It's firearms. Okay? After firearms, strangulation, suffocation, about 34% of them are doing that. But I'd humbly submit to you that part of that increase, or even looking at it as a way of addressing that increase, has to do with the men in their lives or the men around them doing things to take care of themselves. You taking care of yourself, not just you sending them to the doctor to take care of themselves, but you taking care of yourself, okay? And creating a culture where it's normal to talk about how you're doing in terms of your physical health, in terms of your spiritual health, and in terms of your mental health. You've heard very eloquently stated how, if things aren't right with your physical health, it's going to impact these other things. Well, it's the same thing with your mental health. If you're not right in that way, it's going to impact you physically. It's going to impact you spiritually. And so we're talking about these different areas where men hurt, but as soon as anything is wrong in any of those different categories, the hurt spreads. Talking about cancer metastasizing. I'm not a medical doctor, y'all. I'm a psychologist. But problems in your spiritual life, they metastasize into your physical life, right? And in your mental life. Problems in your mental life show up in your body and show up in your spirit, right? And so we've got to spend time keeping all of these things right. In terms of the male suicide, teen suicide problem, I'm going to single you out again, Coach Bean. He made such a difference in my sons' lives, and they had a father. I can only imagine the difference that he's made in the lives of some boys and girls who don't have a father in their lives. And so know that in terms of the positive side of you making this contribution and you being well so that you can be a beacon of other people being well, you can do that not just for your family, but for other people. They may be looking at you and you don't even realize they're paying attention to what you're doing and how you're doing it. We have to do that, you all. We have to do that, specifically in the African American community, but in our community at large, in all our communities. I want to talk a little bit about resources. We talk specifically about depression. You all, depression, not unlike a lot of things, depression is eminently treatable. You all, it's eminently treatable. It's not many people that sort of have depression and they go and get either a medication of some sort to help with it, or they go to counseling that don't get better. Most of our mental concerns get better if we just don't get isolated and talk to somebody about them. Now, I'm biased, you all. I'm a psychologist, and so one of the sort of sayings I even have is that psychotherapy ain't never hurt nobody. It really ain't never hurt nobody. Nobody's come, into my office, for a session or any other one that I'm aware of, and then they leave, they're like limping, they hurt, like, oh my gosh, they just messed up, physically or otherwise after it. Now, they might be limping a little bit mentally, because to the extent you go to that counselor and you're taking a real look at yourself and trying to understand yourself better so that you can make better decisions, so that you can be better in whatever way you want to be, well, that's not the easiest thing, you know? It's not the easiest thing. And so you may be limping a little bit mentally because you had to take this look at yourself and you contemplating some things, but that's a good limp to have, you all. You know, that's a limp that's sort of like a Charlie horse or something. It's going to go away, and you're going to be stronger in all these ways, physically, mentally, and spiritually on the other end of it. So don't let foolish pride keep you from doing what you need to do to be okay. Humble yourself, whatever that means for you. Don't be, I'm going to say it like this, help one another. You know, I really appreciate what Pastor Ron was saying about how we look at another man, and the first thing we're doing is comparing in terms of, a who's better type of way. Why don't we look at another man and think, how can I help this man, and how can I accept help from this man and strengthen ourselves? We can all be stronger together, There's no fight between us. The fight is out there. But it's the same way when it comes to accessing services. And we all have great gifts, you all, gifts to give. Some of the I definitely think Pastor Ron has a gift. Dr. Nokwe here has a gift. I hope I have something to offer. But every man in here has a gift that hopefully they're willing to not just give to their family, but give to someone else, spiritually, mentally, or physically, right? We all have that, but we've all got to be willing to give it, okay? In terms of some specific resources, you heard from the Katrina Landry, who has counseling services. You heard from another woman who was here earlier who has counseling services. The Houston Association of Black Psychologists, you all, is an organization that I'm familiar with. I'm sure everybody's, has a smartphone and everything. You can just Google that, and they have a referral listing for professionals in the community that, you can access for mental health services. You know me now. You could give me a call, and I'd be happy to help with referral or anything that I can. Also, you're going to hear from several pastors today. Some of us feel not as comfortable as we might going and talking to a stranger about what might be going on. We may feel more comfortable talking to our pastor. Many pastors, that's part of their ministry. And so you can certainly talk to them about things that are going on. And that may be the avenue toward help in and of itself. They may send you to somebody else in addition to that. And that, you all, cuts different ways. Some people feel more comfortable talking to a stranger about what's going on. Some people feel more comfortable talking to somebody that they know. Just know that there's a place for both. The main thing is talk to somebody. Don't feel like you got to do it all yourself. No man is an island. We have all these sayings, you all, but we have them for a reason. No man is an island. Reach out and get some help. I think that's what I got, you all. I appreciate y'all's time, and I really am amazed and appreciative that all of you took the time to be here today. It inspires me and makes me feel just better about some of the challenges we face. And remember, give yourself the same gifts that you're trying to give everybody else, and it'll make all gifts possible. Thank y'all.
All right, gentlemen, we are a little bit behind on time, but I'm gonna give you some of that time back in just a little bit. First of all, did everybody get a ticket? Did everybody get a ticket when you came in? The little green and white ticket? Anybody didn't get a ticket?
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night. Sebastian Moore, I'm LPC licensed professional counselor. I'm the owner of Progress with Purpose Concierge Therapy. And so basically what I do is I use that concierge component to go to people where they are. My primary goal is to kind of eliminate the stigma that was mentioned earlier as far as people in mental health care. And so by doing that, I go to your house. I meet you at Starbucks, that type of thing. And so hopefully that eliminates your concern with walking into an office, being seen at the therapist's office, sitting on the couch, and that feeling of, I must be crazy, right? Because you're on your own couch, right? So you can be crazy on your own couch, and it's okay, right? So I'll be there to help you out, and then in addition, my office or my practice is developing a new branch, which is the Battery Intervention Prevention Program through the city of Houston. And so those individuals who are having domestic cases, right, those classes that you need to get that dismissed, and the training that you need to be a better husband, a better partner, right, then we're going to provide that for you, so myself and my team. So that's what I do.
All right, well, we thank you.
Can I mention another resource?
Go ahead.
Hey, just quickly, I'm the director of therapy and psychological services at a place called the Harris County Children's Assessment Center. And you all, it is a facility that provides free mental health services to any family in Harris County that has suffered some issue of child sexual abuse, and a lot of times with that abuse comes physical abuse, neglect, emotional abuse, you name it. So if, however, you're aware of a family in our community that has suffered that trauma, they can come to the Advocacy Center, receive free medical services, free mental health services, and those services are for the whole family. Because when a trauma happens in our family, it happens to our family, right? Not just to that child, and the best way of helping that child is to strengthen the system around them. So all of those mental health services are available, and available to anybody in our community. And I didn't give y'all my number, but my number is 281-772-5442. I can leave some cards too, but that service that a lot of people aren't aware of is available to our families in Harris County, free of charge. Got over 30 clinicians there, master's and doctoral level, and we would love to help. The Children's Assessment Center, the Harris County Children's Assessment Center. And you can Google it, the website will come up, all the contact information, and if anything doesn't go smoothly, you can call me directly.
All right, all right. So, question, on Monday nights, we have Where Men Hurt sessions at a barbershop here in Humble, and I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about that later. But what I did on our last meeting was I asked the guys to write down questions that were really the tough questions that they really couldn't find an answer for or wanted to be addressed. So the first question is, why is it so hard for men to ask for mental health help?
I'll just jump right on in. Part of it is we're wired a certain way, right? You're wired as a protector and a provider to a certain degree. And over time, right, times have changed, and so therefore your role has changed in many instances. Unfortunately, oftentimes we don't change and adapt. And so you have been socialized generationally to fix your own problems. Right? You're a fixer. We're all fixers. So would you agree with that? Yes. So those individuals who are around you that you're there for, you're there to fix their problems. There's a part of us that feels like, well, I can't fix their problems if I got problems. And so therefore I can't have problems. So that socialized expectation added to that pre-wired disposition of being a man, those things combined, they kind of create a situation where it's very difficult for you to open up because now you're being vulnerable. And that's not something that, in general, men are good at, being vulnerable.
That's very good. Anything you want to touch, Ms. Thompson? All right, cool.
That's good is, hey, humble yourself. Foolish pride.
Foolish pride. That's good. All right. So, this is more to the physical health. Is it really that important for me to walk every day? I heard that was very important.
just to keep you down.
It's,
But I did go to medical school. Activity is important, man. That's the way we were developed. We were made to walk. We were made to be active. We weren't made to get in your car from your couch, drive to your office, take the elevator, sit in your chair for about 8 hours, drive back, take the elevator back down to your car, drive, and sit on the couch and go to bed. That's not what we were made for. So you have to understand that physical activity is part of being human. So if you are not indulgent in physical activity, things suffer, things happen. It affects your life, it affects your endurance, it affects your psyche.